Check your fly. Dragon Mop. I would never have called myself a purist, really, but I don't understand mop flies. I don't get it. I feel weird using them. But they're effective. So, who knows? I'm a conundrum. I know that mops come in all sorts of different colors, and the fish love them. I decided to try to use a mop to create a fly that actually looks like a real bug, a dragonfly nymph. Dragonflies live everywhere, and the fish love them. So, I created my fly called a Dragon Mop. Big pumpkin seeds love dragonflies, so let's try to tie one. This is my Dragon Mop fly. Looks kind of like a real bug, huh? Start with a size 6 Mustad 3399 heavy duty nymph hook, and I start with it upside down in my vise. Start my thread about an eye length behind the eye. This is some 6/0 olive unit thread. Trim that off, and I tie on some bead chain eyes. Just a nice big bead chain eyes I got here. Put those right about an eye length behind the eye. Tie them on with some nice tight figure 8 crisscross thread wraps here. Don't want those sliding around, so it's okay to use lots of thread. And then I also put a little glue on there to make sure they don't move around. This is some Gorilla glue I found with a brush applicator. Just a little touch right there in the middle, and that helps keep things nice and tight. And then I throw a few more thread wraps on there, just secure things even a little better, and move my thread back. Now I'm going to put the hook back in the vise the right way to tie the rest of this fly. A couple more wraps, and then I will get my mop ready. I found this nice pale olive mop pelt on eBay. So I trim off one of these mops. Here's the full length mop right here, pretty long. We want to use about half that length, so I will cut it in half here. And that looks about the right length for a dragonfly nymph. Pull off some of the fibers to reveal those middle threads, and I'll just tie it in. There we go, that looks pretty good. Tied in with several nice wraps of thread to keep it nice and secure. Now I'm actually doing a little loop in my thread here. I'm going to do a dubbing loop. I am not a huge fan of dubbing loops, but sometimes they come in handy. So I have created a loop in my thread. Now I'm just going to insert some olive hairline rabbit fur inside that loop. I'm keeping the loop open by just keeping one of my fingers in there at the bottom. And I put a nice bunch of fur in there, a little bit more. And then I just spin it like a Mimi Jimmy here. I took my finger out of the loop and just spin it in one direction. Always go in one direction so that it doesn't loosen itself. And now I'm just going to wrap that around just like I would some chenille or yarn. And look at how buggy that looks. Oh man, that looks good. After each wrap, I kind of stroke the fibers, the hair, the fur backwards so I don't cover up the previous wraps. When I go around with another wrap, got about 3 or 4 wraps in there. And I just tie that thread off with the thread that's coming out of my bobbin. Trim that off. Good to go. Look at how buggy that looks. Here it is from the opposite direction. So I've made a loop in my thread. I keep my finger inside the loop to keep it open. There are fancy dubbing loop tools you can use, but this is a mop fly. I don't want to get all fancy schmancy like that, so I just use my fingers. Keep the loop open, slide some fur in there. Do another wad here. There we go. Now I'll take my finger out and grab hold of the thread and just spin it. Just spin it as much as you can in one direction. Creates a nice furry rope there that you can then wrap forward. Like I said, I don't use dubbing loops very often, but they really can come in handy sometimes when you want a really buggy look to your fly. Wrap that forward up towards the bead chain eyes. Tie that off. 2 or 3 wraps of thread. Look at that fly. It looks great, doesn't it? Holy moly. Now another thing that sets this apart from other mop flies is I'm going to add some hackle. Hackle turns it from a mop into a real fly in my eyes. Here's some nice olive dyed grizzly hen. This is actually off of a hen saddle. Trim off the fuzzy butt ends there, and then I get that ready by trimming off some of the fibers there off that butt, but leaving some little nubbins so that my thread has something to grab onto. Make sure that that is curved to your left when you tie it in, or towards the back of the fly. Tie it in right in front of your fur that you've dubbed, and then we will wrap this forward. I just put 1 or 2 wraps of hackle on this fly. A couple wraps right in front of the fur that we did in our dubbing loop, and you can tie that off. Trim off the hackle. Now the only thing left we have to do on this fly is to add some more rabbit fur in the front. We just figure eight that around the bead chain eyes. So I just am dubbing this the normal way. Try to make a nice thin fur rope here on my thread. And I probably got maybe 2.5, 3 inches of fur on my thread here. Pull that hackle back out of the way, a few wraps behind the bead chain eyes. Then I figure eight around the bead chain eyes. And looks pretty good. I think I'll add a little bit more here just to make it look a little bit fuller in the head. So just adding a little bit more dubbing there to my thread. Another figure eight or two, and done. Finish off that fly with a little thread head. Take my whip finisher, do a couple, 2, 3 whip finishes right in front there, and trim it off. My Dragon Mop is complete. Looks like a real bug, and I don't feel bad about myself for fishing it. Hope you like it. See you next time. Check your fly.